Do you remember the project-based assignments that used to excite us? The open-ended research presentations, community-based inquiries, or solve a real-world problem? Units that we hoped would inspire students to explore. The problem now is that students are short-circuiting the process. They ask ChatGPT to outline their project by telling them which problem to focus on, have them list the pros and cons, and to write the final slide deck. And just like that, something that should have taken 2 weeks now becomes 2 hours of copy and paste. Teachers are feeling cheated, not just because students are cutting corners, but because the work isn't theirs. It's not personal, it's not rooted in their curiosity, it doesn't reflect their context or judgment, and worst of all, it doesn't show their thinking. This episode is not about blaming students, it's about challenging us as educators to rethink how we structure inquiry. Because if a student can hand the project over to AI and get back a finished product that passes, we didn't ask for enough human input along the way. So how do we fix this? How do we design inquiry projects that can't be outsourced, even if AI is used? The answer is we build projects that require context, curation, and confrontation. And let me break that down. Context means the project is anchored in something real, like the student's community, identity, or lived experience. Curation means they have to choose from multiple options or sources and justify their thinking. And confrontation means they have to wrestle with a dilemma, a trade-off, or gray area, and not just summarize facts. So let's take a basic example. Here's an old assignment. Research a public health issue and create a PSA. Students type, make a PSA about teen vaping. AI gives them an outline, statistics, and a call to action. Done. No thinking, no context, no voice. Now, let's transform it. New assignment. Interview 2 to 3 people in your school or community about a public health concern. Use AI to help brainstorm ways to address it, but you must decide, what do they get wrong? What are the blind spots? What's the tension between the personal freedom and public safety in this case? Now, AI can help with background, but the project requires the students' real-world data, their interpretation, their ethical judgment. That cannot be faked. Here's another example. An old project. Do a presentation on climate change solutions. AI can do that in seconds. Let's try a new version. What's one thing your school or city is not doing to address climate impact? Who benefits from the status quo? Who would be disrupted by a change? What local data can you gather? And what trade-offs would your solution involve? Now the student has to prompt AI for global trends, but localize the insight, personalize the angle, and reflect on the impact. And that's authentic work. So let's dig into the process. First, start by structuring the inquiry in phases. Phase 1 would be exploration, where students prompt AI to generate broad perspectives and questions. Then choose one that actually matters to them. Phase 2 would be engagement, where students collect input from real people, lived experiences, or observable spaces. It could be interviews, surveys, photos, or even social media commentary. Phase 3 is synthesis, where students bring AI and human responses together. Where do they align? Where do they clash? Where's the nuance? Phase 4 is stance. Students make a decision or take a position. AI can't do this for them. It has no personal or moral compass. Phase 5, delivery and reflection. Students present their thinking and explain how AI shaped, challenged, or confused their process. This is where the cheating is limited, because you're not grading the polish. You're grading the process. You're grading the decisions, the synthesis, the pushback. And you're making the student's voice impossible to remove. In regard to assessment, if your rubric only measures the final product, you've already lost. You need to assess the originality and specificity of their driving question, the quality and transparency of their AI prompts, the depth of engagement with real people or real-world data, the complexity and clarity of their final position or product, the honesty and insight of their process reflection. This means building checkpoints into the assignment where students submit not just what they found, but how they found it. Let them submit AI prompt logs. Let them record themselves talking through dilemmas. Let them explain what the AI got wrong or what felt off. Your job is no longer to verify the content, it's to verify the thinking behind it. Students will still try to cheat, but if you redesign the project to require personal connection, choice, and critical friction, they'll have to do the work because there's no AI model in the world that can replicate your students' lived experience, their grandmother's story, their community's bus routes, their moral wrestling over whose voice matters and why. This is what inquiry is supposed to be. And if we can shift the structure of our assignments to elevate that, we're not just making AI-proof projects, we're making meaning-rich, identity-connected, insightful, driven learning that sticks. And that's what school is supposed to be. For now, you can go back to one of your project-based assignments, ask yourself, is this something a chatbot could do? If so, how can I anchor it in my students' context? How can I require human engagement? How can I build intention, trade-offs, or voice? You do not need to throw out project-based learning. You need to level it up for a world where AI is here, but students are still the center. Let's build inquiry that can't be outsourced.